In an uncertain market, pricing conversations become more important than ever. Please welcome two experts here to teach us the finer points of luxury pricing. Drew Mandiel with Sotheby's International and Connie Blankenship with Douglas Elliman.
Impressive.
It's fun being up here, isn't it?
Anyone ever done this before?
So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started in the luxury space.
In the luxury space, I think it just evolved from the homes being worth about $300,000 to $700,000 to $1.5 million, 2.5, 5.5, 8.5, 15, 20, 30. It's the same house.
Yeah. So that makes it all
Same
the
house,
tougher,
same
right?
street,
Yeah. Yeah.
same people, same owner, old.
Yeah.
You just have to stay in the business long enough.
Love that. How long are you doing this?
I began in 1973. I was 24 years old, and I worked for Fred Siegel to meet the people, study, and get a license. And I met a lady named June Scott. Scary lady. Really knew how to teach somebody, but she said to me, when I finally got my license and Fred Siegel would not give me unemployment, payment, she said, go and look at 1,000 houses and come back and we'll talk.
And did you?
So 3 months later, I came back and we began to talk about things. And life went on very well. Inflation began. It was hard in the first year. Inflation began and it got easy. We couldn't sell them fast enough. We'd flip them, we'd go to lunch, we'd talk to people, they'd put it in escrow for $500 and flip it for $625.
Those are the days.
And everybody thought it was great. So right around 79 or 80 or 81, things weren't doing so well. The interest rates kept rising and people couldn't imagine. I'd opened my office on Camden. I had 35 salespeople. Everything seemed to be wonderful, but I was the only one selling. No one wanted to work with any of the other sales agents because as times got tougher, they wanted to work with the best agent in the office, and that happened to be the owner. So I'm paying the bills and I'm running the place, and things didn't work too well. So John Douglas came along. He wanted to have an office in Beverly Hills. And naturally, we went out for drinks. You all know Jack? Anybody here long enough to know John Douglas?
Yeah. Does he still drink?
Great guy. John Douglas, rest in peace.
Oh, okay.
He bought my company on a napkin on Friday evening. Monday morning, we had all left and gone to Jack's office across the way on Cannon, excuse me. And life changed, and I started over again.
That's great.
That's real estate.
I love that. Connie?
I've been in the business about 14 years, and I, like you, got into the business in an up market. So, you get in. I was so green, I can't even tell you. And I thought that I knew a lot more than I did, but I got in, and literally people crawled over the fences of my first 3 or 4 listings and bought them before they were even on the market. So basically, after that, I thought, oh, this is just, this is easy, which it's completely not. So I decided, instead of doing more of a volume game, I think I want to get into high-end real estate. So I actually came in. I had a friend that recommended me to a boutique company that was kind of a great company, and I went in and worked with one of the top agents there, which is Mauricio Umansky. And he was a great teacher and really taught me sort of just how to really never, you never sort of go up and down with the emotional cycles of your clients, no matter how much money they have, always stay with them, but don't, there's an emotional there's a cadence and a rhythm to things. And I think he was very, very good at just giving me an overall view of that cadence and rhythm and really staying with people, listening to them. And then I basically have gone out on my own, and it's been great.
Well, like Laura said, the path to yes, right? Yeah. It seems that if you follow that, it really is so simple, the path to yes.
Absolutely.
I think that's it. So pricing. Obviously, comps tell a story, and to your initial comment, the same house, the same house, the same house. Comps tell a story, but they don't tell the full story. And especially in a changing market like we're in today, I think it's a changing market, sadly, on the downside, but it could be a changing market on the upside. People don't know. How do you deliver the message that the numbers people want for their homes are just not going to make it, or do you deliver the message?
I studied psychology.
Yeah, I minored in it too.
Let me tell you, you really need to be able to see in somebody's eyes what they want to do in about the first 11 seconds of your meeting.
Yeah.
If you don't get them in the beginning, they pan away. They drift. That's just the way it is. You have to figure out if they're overpricing, if they're there because they want to see how much they can make, if they're speculators, are going to be different people, if they're getting a divorce and she wants more than he cares about, if
right, motivation definitely
you just have
matters.
to figure out what's going on with them and how they want to move, because there are a lot of reasons to get a listing. The primary reason is the obvious one, that you think that if you sell it, you'll make a good fee and things will be fine. But the real reason is it puts you in business. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be in business, you have to have a storefront. That's my feeling. You need 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or as many as you can get. And you see some of the best agents in this community, they have various listings at various price ranges. And I don't mean just the price range. I mean whether they're really worth it or not. It gives them a storefront. It shows them who they are. It puts you in the league.
The virtual storefront.
You get to get calls from buyers. You get to find out what's going on. You get to get work.
Right, because you can't be in business without a listing. Right?
So, right.
And Connie, how do you deliver the news that someone is slightly over-enthusiastic about their pricing, which we seem to get every single day in New York?
Very carefully.
Yeah.
No, I mean, usually, especially in high-end real estate, you're dealing with, captains of industry, people that are super, super successful. And obviously, sometimes they feel that they know more than you do, and they're the expert. Never. I know it's never happened to you, but it has happened to me on occasion. But no, it's definitely... I think you do have to use psychology. I think you have to do your due diligence. I think you have to know ahead of time, and we have every tool available to us, especially now when you have the internet. You really need to do your research before you go in and meet with people. So not only know the market backwards and forwards, know, especially in the high end, what's selling on market, what's sold off market, so you can speak to that. But I feel like, you need to basically go in, connect with that person, and confidently say to them, if you don't feel like they're on the mark, and I think confidence is key, but basically just say to them, based on my experience, you can use a third-party report. We had talked about that before. Anything you can use to basically back up your position, but you have to be confident and know your stuff and just say, look, this is what it is. It is sometimes, in my opinion, better to maybe be the second person in and tell the truth the first time.
That's an important strategy.
Or the
very
last.
important strategy.
But you actually, it's one thing to stock your storefront with high-end listings. if you can afford to do so, because those people are expecting marketing dollars from you that if you don't have, you're going to be out of business very quickly. So I think you also have to, it's a fine line, but it's a dance between, I need to be able to sell this and actually, you know,
And sincerely take it on.
Yeah, absolutely, sincerely take it on. Because I don't know, in my experience, always just being honest with people, even if it's not what they want to hear, is the best. They will respect you, and they may think they're right, and they may move on to another agent, but they will come back to you.
Yeah, and I think the likability
Maybe.
index is so important. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yes. Right. And every one of these is different, right? Every single pitch, every single couple, every single business manager, everyone we deal with, it has to be tailored to fit to their needs, to what they want to hear, what they want to deliver to their client, you know, whatever it is across the spectrum.
How many times they list it for twice than it's worth, and 3 months later it sells for half or what you told them it was worth, and you say to yourself,
Shit.
God, I told them that.
Yeah.
Why didn't they listen to me?
Right. But they had to list at 200 million to take the 100 million.
And there isn't one answer for that. It depends on who you're talking to.
That's why it's not easy.
Right.
Billy Rose, that guy knows a lot of property. And he's one of the best agents in this room. That man goes around and looks at everything. He used to have a little Mini Cooper when he would drive like crazy to everything he could see. He knew every house cold. And when you're talking to an owner about whether or not it's worth it, the best way is to say, well, so-and-so on the street over there, they're asking such and such. It has a larger, it has a bigger, it has a little smaller, yours is a little, and it's done by comparison.
Yeah, and your basement's a little dark, that basement works better, the attic, you know, knowing the details, right? And that's why you go on Caravan, and that's why you have to spend time and really do due diligence that isn't the obvious. It isn't the numbers on a run. And that's why we're very lucky in luxury real estate. I don't see us as ever being disintermediated, because it's not just nailing the pricing, which is important, it's also a relationship, right? Luxury buyers want to be serviced. Luxury sellers want to be serviced. So it's important that they be treated well.
Service is key. Some
Yeah.
people don't like having an assistant call them, set up appointments, and show property.
Yep.
Some people like the principal, the agent that they selected, to come to the showing. It just depends.
Right, and how many times have everyone in this room heard, well, I hired so-and-so, not you. I'm like, oh, okay.
You'll see him on the renewal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly, yes. Honesty
Right?
counts, exactly.
Right. That's the only time you see him, when they're
Exactly.
renewing the listing.
Exactly. What was the most difficult challenge you ever had in pricing a home, and how did you overcome it?
I think the Hummingbird Nest Ranch was the toughest sale I've ever had. And yet, there are two others, but we won't get into it. The Hummingbird Nest Ranch was something that was overbuilt in Simi Valley. Have any of you heard of it or seen it? It sold for $33 million. I think half of Simi Valley is worth $33 million.
Wow. Wow, good for you.
It was really a challenge. And we got competitive bids after 7 years on and off the list, off the market.
Wow. So it went to an auction?
I had
effectively?
another one that was a divorce on Brooklawn for 10 years. That was a divorce. I had Engelbert Humperdinck's house for 13 years, off and on Sunset Boulevard. It's gone now. It's part of Alwood. And
So you're in it for the long term.
are you going to turn down a listing in Holmby Hills? Excuse me.
And on that
He just
note,
has
Connie,
to answer his
yes.
phone
That's
and talk to your
Engelbert.
client
Yeah.
right now.
What was your toughest, Connie?
I would say I've had a lot of experience in pricing in Beverly Park, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily just one specific property, but it's also dealing with different personalities and, you know, I would just say, you know, clients and people that obviously think that their property, which we all deal with, is more than basically what it's worth.
Right. They put in a gym that cost $1 million. What's
Right,
wrong with
right,
you?
right. Yeah. They've all put in the most amazing finishes that you've ever seen. It's the most
Exactly.
beautiful property, you know, that anybody in the world. It's
Don't
the
you
best in the
understand,
world.
Connie?
And
Don't
that
you
obviously,
understand?
yeah. Don't you understand
Yeah,
that? And
yeah.
why don't you? So I think it's really just, again, going back to what I said earlier, is just, you know, being honest and also,
Somewhat.
yeah,
It's not a
not
horrible kitchen.
completely,
Yeah, yeah.
not exactly what you're thinking
Yeah,
always,
yeah.
but yeah, just really knowing the personalities and having to manage them, and a lot of that does have to do with psychology and guiding them. Kind of honestly, it's sometimes like keeping them. You're trying to protect them from themselves,
Yeah.
especially when there's a big ego involved. So
Or
it's
their
a fine.
spouses when they have knives. Yeah.
It's just a fine. It's a dance, and there's a cadence and a rhythm to it, and hopefully you work out to where you sell the property and your friends and their clients for a long time.
Right. Or your enemies, but you got the commission, so it's okay. Yeah.
Which brings us to another part. If you don't know the neighborhood well, or you aren't a significant broker in an upper end property, bring somebody. Bring somebody who is. You're never going to have a chance, in all likelihood, against the big boys
And girls.
and girls. Excuse me. Oh, Donald. You're never going to have a chance against Jade Mills, Mauricio, Steven Shapiro, Kurt Rappaport. Those guys and others are really knowledgeable people, and they have a long track record, a current track record.
That's really well said and
You
really
have to bring them.
perfect.
Better to take half.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was great. Thank you. And fun.